Danny Swift Garcia became the WBC welterweight champion on Saturday night by scoring a unanimous decision victory over Robert the Ghost Guerrero. That title was originally, or was last, held by Floyd Mayweather Jr., and it was among the titles that were vacated when Floyd retired. Even though it did take quite a bit of a time for those titles to actually be vacated, they are actually out there free for people to grab, and Danny Garcia claimed the coveted green belt on Saturday night with a pretty solid performance. I'm going to get more into Danny's performance in a second, but let's talk about the first two fights on the card on Saturday night. It was broadcast on Fox, which was the first ever Premier Boxing Champions card on Fox. And on paper, the fights looked pretty interesting, and for a moment, the card was pretty solid. It started off with a heavyweight title fight between Dominic Breazeale against hungry contender Amir Mansour. Now, Mansour is 43 years old, but you would never know it by looking at him. He came in there chiseled out of granite, and he's also showing excellent desire. He actually knocked the heavily favored Breazeale down. I believe it was in the fourth round. It was a huge right hand. Now, Breazeale's known for having some shoddy defense at times. I've seen him in previous fights get hit with looping shots over the top, and that was the case again in this fight. Mansour was really just outworking him through the first three rounds, but slowly but surely, after Breazeale got knocked down, he got to his feet and he began to establish his jab. Now, Breazeale's 6'7". He had a legitimate 8-inch height advantage over Mansour, and the reach advantage was obviously clear as well, as he was pumping the jab once he got into rhythm. But even still, he was taking some hard shots, enough hard shots to make me say, you know what, I'm not sure how much of a prospect Breazeale can be down the road. But in the fifth round, I believe it was in the fifth round, he hurt Mansour with a hard right hand and an uppercut. And you could tell, now Mansour has a solid chin because he took some good shots, got hurt maybe 2 or 3 times in the fight. But in this particular round, when he got hurt, you could tell there was something different going on. He walked over to his corner and he was shaking his head, trying to kind of play it off, but he had blood kind of streaming out of his mouth and his jaw was clearly hurt. Turns out his jaw was broken. He told his corner man, he said, I can't close my mouth. And they had to stop the fight in between rounds. It was an excellent fight up to that point. It was still up for grabs, even though I felt that Mansour was probably a little gassed because he was straight selling out with his punches early on, trying to get Breazeale out of there, especially once he knocked him down. But he couldn't finish the job, and in the process took a nasty shot on his chin and on his jaw that wound up ending the fight. There's no doubting Breazeale's power. I mean, he's a humongous guy anyway, and he's demonstrated it in this fight and demonstrated it in other fights prior to this. But his hands are pretty slow, and he also keeps his hands way too low for such a tall fighter. So I can't group him in with the other up and coming young heavyweights like Joseph Parker, Anthony Joshua. So I don't think he's quite on that class, but he did get a win on Saturday night. In the second fight, we saw Sammy Vasquez against Aaron Martinez. Now, Aaron Martinez actually deserved a unanimous. I thought it should have been a unanimous decision. He fought Robert Guerrero in June of 2015, and I really felt he won that fight. I thought he got robbed in the decision. Guerrero ended up getting a split decision victory, despite the fact that Martinez had knocked him down. Now, Martinez, after that, outworked and did get the decision in a win over Devin Alexander. So that set him up for the fight on Saturday night against Sammy Vasquez. And Sammy Vasquez is one of the more promising young welterweights in the world right now. Every time I see him fight, I think he looks a little better. He's a veteran. He did 2 tours in Iraq, so he's pretty much everywhere he fights, he has great crowd support. But this guy's talented. He has quick hands. He has great footwork and balance, and really good fighting instincts. And he pretty much picked Martinez apart. Now, this must have been the night for stoppages on the stool, because as it turned out, Martinez had an injury himself, and he couldn't come out for the next round. I think he was stopped also in maybe the 5th or 6th round as well. So I don't know. It was something in the air. There's something in the air on Saturday night. The guys couldn't, get off the stool because of injuries. Now, this situation was a little bit different, though, because Vasquez was pretty much dominating the fight. He was outboxing him pretty much in every way. I don't think he was going to stop Martinez, because he's a really tough guy and has shown a really good chin in previous fights. But I think he was on his way to a what could have possibly been a complete shutout, where Martinez would have done nothing pretty much but take punishment. So it wasn't like the stoppage in the first fight, because in the first fight, the result I felt was in doubt and it was up for grabs. This fight, we just pretty much abbreviated what we were going to ultimately see anyway. In the main event, Garcia Guerrero. This one was kind of like a tale of two fights, because early on, Guerrero's pressure and boxing ability, I had him up. I didn't have Garcia really seize control of the fight till about the 4th or 5th round is when I thought the light kind of turned on for him. Guerrero was putting on a lot of pressure, and Garcia was fighting, moving backwards, and at first he wasn't doing it very well. But I felt the turning point of the fight was the 6th round. He lit Guerrero up with some nasty pinpoint power shots. The left hook, obviously, with Garcia is always a major weapon, and it was again in this fight. But the right hand did a lot of damage as well. Some straight right hands kept shooting Guerrero's head back. Now, of course, we know Guerrero, if you've seen him fight, he has a granite chin. He's been down, I think, only twice in his career. Aaron Martinez knocked him down, and, of course, Keith one-time Thurman knocked him down as well. But nobody, the closest person to stopping him was Thurman. Now, he was truly hurt against Thurman, but it didn't take him long to recover. Garcia hit him with some bombs, and I think we've seen, Garcia in previous other fights. We know he can punch a bit, but Guerrero was coming through the punches. I mean, they were obviously scoring, and they were marking up Guerrero's face, and Garcia's face was marked up as well. But I don't think Guerrero was ever hurt in the fight. Nonetheless, Garcia threw more punches, landed more punches, and landed at a higher percentage. So I really don't think there was much of any discrepancy or any question about the decision. All three judges saw it 116 to 112, and ironically, I had it at the same score. So that must have been the right way to see the fight. Garcia claims this title. This is his first title at 147 pounds after being the undisputed 140-pound champion for a while. Guerrero, this was his third shot at trying to win a welterweight title after he's already been a 3-division champion. He came up short again. Garcia's in line now to take on the winner of the Thurman-Sean Porter fight, which is scheduled for March 12th, which is also going to be a PBC event. If Thurman does win, which some people believe he will, but I don't think it's going to be an easy fight at all, Garcia-Thurman would be a really solid fight. But also Garcia-Porter could be a good fight as well. So it'll be interesting to see how that goes, and if we do move towards a unification bout at 147 pounds. As for Robert Guerrero, he's in a tough situation. He's lost 3 of his last fights, and quite honestly, it should have been 4 of his last fights, 4 of his last 5, because he didn't deserve the decision against Aaron Martinez. He keeps running into what I call a talent ceiling. He just wasn't good enough to beat Danny Garcia, and I'm wondering if he's ever going to be good enough to beat the really good fighters at 147 pounds. I appreciate you watching. God bless. Peace.